What's up guys, welcome back to the RA Visuals channel for another video. And if you guys are new here, welcome. My name's Ricky and I'm here to bring you a very cool tech video. So recently you guys asked for more computer related content and I listened and now I'm delivering. So today we're going to be taking a look at a bone stock, super boring pre-built PC from Lenovo, and we're going to see if we can upgrade it a bit to turn it into a competent gaming machine to play some popular games here in 2021. But first, let's take a look at some of my merch. RA Visuals merch is finally here, fam. We have partnered up with streamerwear.com to bring you some really awesome and high quality threads with your favorite RA Visuals logo on them. We have hats, shirts, pullovers, hoodies, heck, we even have coasters for your coffee mug if you want. I've also included an alternate logo version that you can get every item in as well, so be sure to check that out. Of course, everything you grab supports the channel and helps me keep making more content for you guys to enjoy. So head over to streamerwear.com and check out my collection using the merch link in the description and cop some fresh new gear to show off to your friends. Okay guys, so getting right into it, the pre-build that we're going to be using for our platform today is the Lenovo ThinkCentre M93p mini tower. At first glance, this is obviously not going to look like a gaming PC at all, but it comes equipped with features that actually make it a great starting point for upgrades. First, let's start with the base system that I was able to secure from the Facebook Marketplace a while back for an easy $80. It came with a Core i5-4790 for the CPU, 8GB of DDR3 RAM, and a 1TB WD Blue hard drive. Pretty darn good deal for sure, as these kinds of systems have definitely jumped up in price recently due to current events, if you guys have shopped around a little bit. Now let's talk about what we'll actually be using for our testing today. For the CPU, I changed out the i7, and I ended up using that in a different Optiplex build on the channel, so I ended up going ahead and using a leftover i5-4590 chip that I had laying around for this build right here. It has 4 cores and 4 threads with a clock speed of 3.3 GHz that turbos up to 3.7 GHz, so I think this would be a great option for an entry-level system. Like I said before, this system came with 8GB of RAM originally, but we're going to step that up to 16 gigs of DDR3 1600 MHz RAM from Patriot that I had laying around because I feel like this is a standard amount gaming builds have these days. Of course, this will be a gaming build like I was saying, so being able to fit an upgraded GPU is paramount to our success here. The chassis is a mini tower, so it's not too small to accommodate a beefier GPU, but also not so large that it takes up a ton of space in your setup. Measuring it out, it looks like it can accommodate cards that are up to 8 inches in length because of a USB 3 connector that actually blocks the ability to insert longer cards into the top PCIe slot. Also keep in mind the width of your card though, especially the backplate, because the memory slots are very close to where the GPU sits. Now we also have to be able to power the upgraded GPU. So taking a look at the included power supply on this PC, we get a 280 watt Light-On 80 plus bronze rated unit. That should be plenty for the cards that we're planning to pair with this system. The only snag is that this PSU doesn't come with a PCIe power connector to supply power to the discrete GPU. So we need to deploy my usual fix for the situation, a SATA to PCIe power cable. These can be found on Amazon for super cheap and are perfectly safe to use in builds like this that draw minimal power. So let's talk about GPU possibilities. I tried a few GPUs to see if they would fit in here, and first, the XFX RX 570 had no luck because it's too long and too wide, so that's definitely a no-go. Then I tried a full-size EVGA 1050 Ti, and again, this card was too long as it hit that USB 3 connection, so again, a no-go. Taking all of this into account, I settled on a card that I knew would be a great fit in this system, and it ended up being the GTX 1060 3GB. This is the same card that I actually used in a previous video where I taught you guys how to clean a used GPU, so this thing is nice and shiny. It cost me only $80 at the time I purchased it, and this card has the performance that's on par with the processor that I chose, and still actually beats out the only other choice that I had in mind, the newer GTX 1650 4GB. If you take a look at the performance metrics, they show that the 1060 3GB still has a 21% performance bump over the 1650, with its only downside being the 3 gigs of VRAM versus the 1650's 4GB. Only the benchmarks can tell us if this does make a difference or not in today's games. Now with all of that figured out, the next thing we got to do is just go ahead and install our CPU, go ahead and put our CPU cooler back on, install our RAM, our graphics card, and then go ahead and put in a new SSD for our snappy boot drive. everything in the system, I then installed Windows using a CD key from my favorite CD key retailer, URCD, link in the description, no big deal. And bam, the system boots with zero issues and we're ready to test out some games. Something out of the ordinary I decided to do with this build was actually to live benchmark it with all of you guys on stream. So if you guys happen to be there, thanks for hanging out with me. It was a lot of fun. I'll link the stream up in the top right corner if you ended up missing it, but essentially I decided to grab 8 different benchmarks and mirror the video signal over to my main rig so there would be no latency or performance hindrance so that you all can get a live look into how I benchmark my PCs that I build. And to start this thing out, I went with my usual go-to for gaming machines, Firestrike. After Firestrike, we went with one of our usual go-to games, CSGO, playing at high settings at 1080p with 8x MSAA. After that, we ran Doom Eternal, and now because of our GTX 1060's 3 GB of VRAM, we were only able to run this game at low settings at 1080p. Next, we booted up Shadow of the Tomb Raider, running at the medium preset at 1080p with DX12 and TAA on. After that, we ran Borderlands 3 at 1080p medium to low settings. And then, because I know you guys are all going to ask, we decided to go ahead and run Fortnite at 1080p Pro settings first. And then, just because I know a lot of you guys are going to ask about this too, we decided to do the same 1080p resolution, but then we decided to use performance mode at those pro settings again. Next, we ran Overwatch at 1080p medium settings. And finally, we decided to finish things off with some Warzone. And again, this thing was limited by the VRAM of the card, so we had to run all low settings at 1080p.
Okay gang, so let's wrap this up with a few of our findings from the test and some interaction that I had with some of you guys on the stream. So first off, gaming performance was right on par with what I expected it to be at 1080p, with admittedly a few stutters occasionally, but overall this PC can run every game we throw at it and play it at a very respectful frame rate. This PC is definitely better suited for esports titles, as you can get up to that 144 frames mark and 1080p to push a high refresh rate monitor if you want for more competitive gaming, but it'll also give you a very decent experience in AAA titles, getting right at that 60 FPS mark or very close to it. Now that's all well and good, but what are the downfalls of a PC like this? Well, admittedly, quite a bit. The CPU and the GPU are actually really dating themselves at this point in 2021. And as we saw in Doom Eternal and in Warzone, more games are taking advantage of cards that have more VRAM. So having only 3 gigs on this card basically limited the graphics settings and maybe even limited the amount of FPS that we could actually get due to it not having enough VRAM to push the game any higher. Despite this, the Lenovo M93p is definitely another great budget option aside from the Dell Optiplex for you guys out there looking to put together a system to play some games and get into the PC world. As always, these systems have their limitations on future upgrades, but for the total of 190 bucks that I myself paid for everything, that is the time of purchasing, you guys, it's probably more expensive right now. I think I definitely got my money's worth. Anyway, if you feel like you got your money's worth by watching this video, why did I say that? You guys didn't have to pay anything to watch the video. Anyway, I was just trying to make the segue work. But anyway, please hit the video with a like so that freaking algorithm will actually get people to see these videos and more people will come to the channel. And make sure you guys get subscribed with those bell notifications on so you never miss one of my future uploads either. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.